Good morning, world. It's your favorite podcast host, NikiMarie. Happy Friday. Yes, thank the Lord, TGIF. It has been an awesome week. A lot of changes are happening in my home, and I'm really excited because it's the time for change. You know, we've been living in our house for 6 years, and we've been fortunate enough to do all of this work right now. We're just constantly thinking of making improvements to these walls and leave behind a gem for our kids and possibly maybe somewhere down the line in the future, our grandkids. We want to leave them behind a home. And so we're just trying to make improvements. But I know the holidays are quickly approaching and it's going to be different. I'm talking about Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the New Year. It's going to look really different. It's going to feel different. You know, my family and I, we were just talking about gathering, well, the best way to gather without really gathering, because we want to remain safe and we want to, we want to be cautious and take the advice of the officials who are telling us not to gather more than 10 people, et cetera, right? So the virtual Thanksgiving dinner is probably what's going to happen. It's unfortunate, but we would rather be safe than sorry. So that's what we're going to do. In the midst of it all, we still have families who are struggling financially and they're trying to figure out where their next meal is coming from. So I was doing a little bit of research and I know that in the boroughs, you can contact the food bank, which is foodbanknyc.org. And you can also contact feedingamerica.org. You know, I also reached out to my children's teacher and the principal, and they do have some in-school programs for families who are struggling because, you know, when it comes to being hungry, there's a lot of different things. So we have a number of resources here in the United States, but most people have no clue where to start. And because of the coronavirus pandemic, more than 50 million people may have experienced food insecurity. And research has found that food insecurity is associated with increased risk of some birth defects, anemia, lower nutrition intakes, cognitive problems, and aggression and anxiety. I mean, there's a lot. There are a lot of organizations who don't want to see anyone go hungry. So my next guest, Dawn Witte, she has a nonprofit organization to fight against hunger. And we're going to talk to her about her nonprofit organization and also her desire to inspire. So keep listening. That interview is coming up next with Dawn Witte.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the NikiMarie Radio Show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode on NikiMarie Radio. I'm your favorite podcast host, NikiMarie. My next guest, Dawn Witte, is the founder and director of the Desire to Inspire Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization. She's going to talk more about the organization and her role. Dawn is also an author, which we will talk about later on in the show. She's an international speaker and a philanthropist. Dawn and I share a common mission to inspire people around the world to find their purpose and live it. I'm happy to have her on the show, and she's going to tell us more about herself, her books, her nonprofit, and so much more. If we've learned anything from 2020, it is about learning more about yourself, your purpose, the value of family and friends, and so much more. So I'm grateful that she's here with us today. Okay, Dawn is here. I'm so excited that you're on the show. Tell us more about Desire to Inspire.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be able to share what I do in the world with, your audience. Desire to Inspire started because, we turn on the news. I mean, now even worse, but, you turn on the news and they report about, people killing people, fires, tragedies. And I just thought, if you only went by the news, you would just think we live in this terrible world. And right. I do understand that there are bad things that happen in the world, but I know so many people doing so many amazing things, whether it's rescuing dogs, helping people with cancer, helping unwed mothers. And I just thought, I would love to share those people with the world too, because for every bad thing that happens, there's probably a million good things. Then I went to Africa for the first time and talk about inspiration, people who are struggling to find clean water or struggling for food, the generosity and the joy that they have in their hearts. I just thought, well, I really need to share these people with the world. Right. And, it's just been a passion, helping people has always been a passion, but uplifting people and, making them think, the world, there are some people out there doing amazing things in the world. That is what the foundation was started on. And that's what we do.
See, I'm so happy that you bring that up. 2020 has taught us about selflessness. And when I think of Desire to Inspire, I think of people setting out to this mission of inspiring other people around the world. I have listeners all over the world. And when you bring up Africa, why is it so important to help others in Africa?
Somebody sent me something just yesterday, and I'm going to read it because I've never heard this before, but it's kind of, I think one of the reasons I have such a passion for Africa is because, it's the cradle of humanity. And they are abundant in all of these resources, yet there's so much struggle there. And I don't understand why, but it was something about, Africa feeds the world, but we're not feeding Africa, something to that effect. And I'm like, that can't happen. I think that the world has not been kind to Africa, and that needs to change. And I want to be one of those people that help make that change.
Yeah, it's funny because, there are schools that are being built in Africa. And I actually just had a guest on not too long ago where she built a machine in Zimbabwe to create clean water. And I try to tell my kids this word of privilege, right? Sometimes people will say, well, there's white privilege and not actual people privilege. But we live in the United States where we're not starving for clean water, where we're not starving for a good education. There are times when we're lacking food resources. And I believe that was mentioned before with your foundation, where you're fighting against hunger.
Yes. You've skipped a meal, once or twice in your life, you've been late to lunch or dinner or whatever, and you know how that feels. And the thought of a child being hungry has always hurt my soul. Like when I was a little child, it made me so sad to think, oh my gosh, this is their daily living. I know my meal is coming, like, maybe in an hour or two, or I can go to the refrigerator. And that's, some people, that's not their daily existence. And I'm just like, I can't live in a world where I know that happens and not try to fix it, not try to do something about it.
Yeah. So tell us more, like the people that support you, the partners that support you with the foundation, how are they important in helping your mission?
Oh, I always say, there is nothing we cannot do when we work together. And so everything we do is in collaboration because people of like minds, people who want to make a difference, when we join hands and, try to lift together, that is when all the miracles and the magic happens. Yeah. So partnership is so important because not one person can do it alone. But again, when we join forces, that's the way you change the world. Everything we do must be in partnership because, that's how we change the world. When I first went to Africa, I didn't know anybody.
How has the pandemic been for you? I've been trying to talk to like business owners and people who are authors and have different things going on. And I'm like, what are some of the challenges you faced during this pandemic?
Well, as with everybody in the world, this pandemic has really changed our lives. It has made me really crystal clear on the fact that, we cannot control anything outside of ourselves, and it's how we respond to these things. But, the beginning of the year on Valentine's Day, one of the people we were working with in Uganda, he passed away in a auto accident, tragic, unexpected. What a loss to humanity, 32 years old. And then a week later, one of our girls in Sierra Leone passed away, 6 or 7 years old. That was tragic. And we had been working on this Day of Purpose in Sierra Leone, and we were going to do it in Ghana and Uganda in June. And, clearly that wasn't going to happen. I was working on planning my trip for September. That couldn't happen. So it kind of, I had to take a pause and say, I got to regroup. I don't know exactly how to move forward. And for a few months, I was kind of like, I don't know what to do. But come the end of August, for some reason, the wheels started moving forward again. Yes. So over the last couple weeks, I launched my shopping site, the Giver's Marketplace. It's called the Beeline Products. I launched that. I was in 2 book collaborations. Both of them broke the top sellers list on Amazon, like within weeks. Yeah. So things are starting moving forward and like full speed. But yeah, there were some months there where I just didn't even know what to do. But I was just like, you know what? There's a divine purpose for everything. I'm not exactly sure what the purpose on this one is, but all I can do is be my best self and figure out a different way. Your path is not always like a straight path and clear. It appears in front of you, and we just have to take, things as they come and adjust and flow and be flexible. But again, that's part of one of life's lessons.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually sent my mom your website, the btour.org website, and she's like, tell her I said hello. I'm like, you don't even know her, but she's like, but she sees the work that you're doing, and it's commendable. And I know that you're a certified life coach.
Yes. And
one of the things that a lot of business owners are struggling with is the transition. A lot of companies are closing, because of COVID and the downfall of the financial system of things. What would you say to people who are trying to find their next thing? Like, let's say if they were a teacher and now they're deciding to go into another field. Would you be able to advise them on how they can transition from one career to the next?
Part of what I love doing with the children I work with people I work with, is help people tap into their passions. I think a lot of times we have jobs, we make money doing these jobs, but I really want people to live into their purpose. You hear so many times people are working at a job that they don't love, they don't even like, but it pays for the bills. And so they keep doing it. So, I would talk to people about finding their passion, finding that thing that makes them come alive, that, when they start talking about it, they get really animated and you can tell that they're super excited about this thing, whatever that is. If it's something creative, if it's photography, if it's art, if it's music, if it's writing, whatever that is, like, start thinking about, like, what would you love to be doing? Not just like, what can I do? That's another thing. I was talking to my nephew a couple years ago, and I said, well, what would you love to do? And he goes, well, I'm good at a lot of things. I said, I didn't ask what you were good at. I know you're good at a lot of things. I said, what would you love to do? And that changes that question.
I want to get into the B series. I saw that you had a coloring book. I think it was.
It's a planner, and there's some coloring elements, and we're about to relaunch that within the next couple of weeks. So I'm super excited about that. But, everything I write and everything I do is about helping people live their happiest, most fulfilling life, full of love, full of kindness, because really when you are loving in the world, it comes back to you like 100 times. So I want people to, tap into their own greatness, because everybody has greatness. And sometimes I think we forget that dreaming part of us. When we're little kids, we dream of, being this or doing that. And I think as we get older, we stop dreaming because we're so grounded in, just getting by, living every day. And I want people to go back to that dreaming part of them.
Yeah. What strides have you made so far since starting your organization? Tell me, actually, when did you start your organization?
I started about 4 years ago. Around this time, I started the whole notion of desire to inspire. And then I went to Africa 3.5 years ago. And since then, since my first trip, and I did not know a soul. And I went by myself. Wow. And I remember my daughter saying, Mom, are you sure? Like, this sounds a little crazy. And I'm like, it does sound crazy. But for some reason, my heart and my soul is telling me I need to do this. And ever since I did, just the things, the people that I have met and the resources and the connections, they've all just started showing up. We have drilled 3 boreholes And again, always in collaboration with other organizations. We've drilled 3 boreholes. We've given out 2,500 little books of B, which are reminders to the children that they're loved, that there are people around the world that care about them. I have visited thousands of people in Africa. I've spoke to people, to groups, and my message always to them is, the children especially, is how many of you know that you are special? And that you were put here to do something that only you can bring to this world. And to plant that seed in anyone's mind is such a gift for me.
Yeah. How can people help you with your mission?
Oh my gosh. Well, I always say, even if you can't donate, a prayer for these beautiful people that I know is always helpful. I think prayers and love, it's more valuable than money. We just launched the Beeline product website, and $7 from every item purchased is going to go to the work of the Desire to Inspire Foundation.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I always like giving something back for their generosity, and this feels so much better to my soul than just asking for a donation. So we created that. So again, prayers are always wonderful. Donations are wonderful. Shopping on my site helps. And we're planning a trip for next October. I'm bringing people. I have 7 people. I haven't advertised this or put it out into the world yet, but 7 people are like, I'm going. So I've got 7 people coming because I get to share my Africa with them.
Yeah.
And so that's super exciting. So, we just have a lot of different things going on and a lot of different ways you can support the work. But again, just saying a little prayer, sending some love to strangers across the world is definitely helpful.
Yeah, I'm very guided by my family, and I shared your information with my mom and my husband, and he looked at your picture on the website and was like, she has a beautiful smile. And his term is, if you have a beautiful smile, you have a kind, loving heart. We just looked over your website and we wanted to know, where does that passion come from? That passion and drive and helping others.
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I'm an oldest. I don't know if that has something to do with it. I loved being a mom, raising my 2 daughters was such a gift. And when they got older, I'm like, I still want to be a mother, but I can't pack your lunches anymore.
Right.
So that's not frowned upon when they're in their 20s. So I just thought, there are children who don't have a mother. And here's this mother who wants to still love like a mother and nurture. So it's a marriage made in heaven.
Yeah. Have they ever traveled with you to Africa?
Not yet, but one of these days that is going to happen.
Yeah. Are you planning to go back anytime soon?
Next October. I didn't get to go this year, so I went 3.5 years ago is my first time. And since then, I've been 4 times. And I've spent about 4 months in Africa, traveling through Uganda and Kenya and Ghana and Sierra Leone, Rwanda. I want to touch every single country. I want to touch as many people's lives in love as I possibly can. And that's my passion. And again, I'm not exactly sure why Africa. I'm half Indian, so I know there's tons of poverty in India. I could have been called there, but I was called to Africa, and that's where I be.
And that's where your heart is. Yeah. What would you tell your younger self, like your 21-year-old self?
Oh, gosh, I think I would tell my younger self the same thing I tell these children, is that you're special and you're here for a reason and, you matter. Yeah. I could cry because, one time I gave them one of my little books. It's my life coach, Beth Berkins. I love her very much. But I gave her the little book and she looked at it and she turned it over and she said, I see you. And I just thought, what an amazing thing to say to somebody.
I feel the passion already, which is making me emotional.
I know.
I mean, it's something that is rooted with us. Like I was telling my listeners, you and I share a common mission, which is to inspire people around the world and to find their purpose and live it. And I feel like you're definitely living in your purpose. Was there ever a setback that you had where you second-guessed that purpose? I've
never second-guessed the purpose. I've questioned it because, again, like, why Africa? Why do I have to be a mother to all the children who don't have a mother? Why couldn't I, be a good golfer or something? I don't know.
Right.
I have had some setbacks. I started, what I wanted to do was create this Givers Marketplace many years ago. And I started this organization called I Give On. And what I wanted to do is bring artists' work to the world, help them share their work and their passion. And that didn't quite happen. And so I thought, gosh, you know what? Maybe I suck. Maybe I'm not as good at doing things as I think I am. And then, but it just took a different form. And now I've got the Givers Marketplace. So I think sometimes we have to be flexible about how things go and maybe not be so set with like what they're supposed to look like, and just kind of not beat ourselves up, when something doesn't go according to what we think it's going to go like, that inner dialogue, because, maybe God or the universe or whatever you want to call it is just redirecting us into our highest and greatest good. So I truly believe that everything that happens is for our highest and greatest good. What lesson do we take from it? What can we learn from it? And then how do we keep moving? And because my purpose is so strong, like I'm not going to let those kids down. Failure is not an option. I'm going to figure out a different way. If this doesn't work, I'm going to try this way. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to find a different way. But it has to happen because I can't fail at this. It's like you can't fail at being a parent. You can't just be like, this is really hard. I don't want to do this anymore.
Right. Throw in the towel.
Yeah, I give up.
I mean, my parents have always told me that there was never an instruction manual on how to be a good parent. So you kind of just go for what you know. But exactly. I think I've been doing a pretty good job so far. If you guys are loving each other and your children are happy, you are rocking it. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we never know who our children are going to grow up to be. And that's why I love the B tour that you have. I think the B, like, what does that represent for you? Because it's just BE and that's it.
It's about being our greatest selves, and just being, not comparing ourselves to other people, not comparing ourselves to what we think success is supposed to look like really just being comfortable in our own skin, owning that, being the best person we can be, liking who we are and extending that out to others. I always think, if everybody helped just the person next to them, whether it was giving them a compliment, a smile, saying hello, telling them a joke. If everybody just did that to one person, we could eliminate suffering everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of division, especially this past year, but just overall in general from our quote unquote leaders. So now, how do we bring it back to a unified front?
I think one of the things I think is really important is we stop vilifying people because they have a different opinion than we do. We've all had different life experiences which shape how we see things. So nobody's wrong. Your life experience is probably vastly different than mine. No two people have everything the same. So I don't debate people about things. I find common ground to talk about. We can have a difference of opinion about politics, about anything. And it doesn't matter because we can connect soul to soul. When we start looking at that as being our highest and greatest good, all the other disagreements and stuff, they don't matter.
Yeah, that's kind of the message that I said for the last podcast episode that I did, which was just basically about not having the perfect leader, not being this ideal of perfection, because people will agree to disagree. But what is one of your quotes? I think you were trying to read something before.
Oh yeah, I couldn't find it.
Oh, okay. Is there a quote that you feel you live by?
Oh gosh,
I've been very expressive lately on my Instagram page at NikiMarie _radio. And I just have a lot of different positive quotes. Sometimes it's quotes that I feel like this is the moment for it. And then sometimes I feel like I need to hear it for myself or read it for myself. So then I just post it. Do you have quotes like that you either live by directly or indirectly?
Absolutely. I mean, that's how I even got started writing my books, because I was collecting all these quotes that really, resonated with me. And I had a whole bunch of them put together. And then I've started writing some myself. So, for my daughters. But one of them that I just posted yesterday, because I feel this to my soul, is a person who feels appreciated will always do more than what is expected. I think that customer service, whenever I'm on customer service, calls or whatever, I'm always very grateful. And, people will tell me, Thank you so much. Instead of like being mad, like my shipment was wrong or whatever, I'm like, thank you so much for helping me fix this. And people,
you have such a positive attitude about that. I'll be like, no, this is wrong. But no, that's a great way to live.
It really is. When I was going to visit the college back when I was like 17 years old with my dad, they lost our luggage. And I remember my dad was at the customer service, agent talking to them about the luggage, and he was really upset, and I said, Dad, she didn't lose our luggage. She's just trying to help us. And when you think about that, again, if Amazon gets your order wrong, that person on customers that you're talking to in customer service, they had nothing to do with that. They're trying to help you get this problem sorted. And when you're grateful, people are much more willing to help you, go out of their way to even help you more because you're treating them kindly. And it's all about kindness.
Well, what is next for Dawn Witte?
Oh my goodness. Again, everything's just been shooting off like a rocket the last couple of months. So I'm literally on the phone from 5:00 in the morning till I pass out at night. But we have a book coming out next Monday. Hopefully it will be available on Amazon. We are kicking off the Recipes for Being the Power of 7 books. And the first one is going to be Recipes for Being the Power of Kind. And there's a 21-day intensive in it. There's some stories. There's some journaling prompts, again, helping people tap in to, their passions and what their purpose is and living their happiest life.
Right.
So that's coming next week.
I put out btour.org. Is there another website where my listeners can go?
Yes, it's recipesforbeing.com. And desiretoinspirefoundation.org is where you can find the pictures of all my beautiful children and, see some of the work that we're doing. And there's a link to the shopping site so you can see some of that. And again, it's all about these 7 words, about living our highest and greatest good and living the best life we can, and about being love in the world, being kind, being genuine, being strong, being inspired, happy. And again, creating our lives, not just allowing life to happen to us, but creating a life that we love.
Now, are you big on social media or
yes,
emails?
You know what? All of it. Social media, emails, whatever, I'm there. I'm communicating with people all around the world, which a few years ago, if you would have told me that my life would look like this today, I would say you're crazy, but it has been such an amazing ride.
Yeah. I mean, you've been busy.
I've got a lot that I want to do in the world, so I got to do it.
Yeah, that's very true. What are some of the social media platforms that people can access now to reach out to you?
We are on Facebook at Desire to Inspire Foundation. We're on Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. You can find me personally, Dawn Witte. And what else? There's got to be more. I feel like it seems like there's a million. So Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are the 3 that, you can find the Desire to Inspire Foundation.
Awesome. I'm so excited for you. And I truly appreciate all that you do for so many people. And I hope that your daughters are proud. I'm pretty sure they are. But keep doing what you're doing. And I will leave all of your information in the description of this podcast episode. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It has been a fun conversation. I'm going to follow you too on social media. And I love getting to, share what I do in the world because it's not work. I've created a life that I never want to retire from. I will do this until my last breath.